My wife's inexplicable changes in behavior around our child raised red flags, compelling me to hire a detective who forced the truth into the open, a concealed DNA test. Be me, 31 years old. Regular Wednesday morning starts like any other. Sipping my morning Earl Grey tea, about to leave for work at tech consulting firm. Phone vibrates in my pocket. It's my brother Ryan. We're close, always have been. He's a detective, seen some dark stuff in his career. Never calls this early unless something's serious. Heart already racing when I answer. "Hey, you got a minute?" he asks in a low voice, like someone might be listening. "What's up?" I reply, trying to keep calm. Can tell something's wrong by his tone. "Listen," he pauses. "Found something you need to know about." Another pause. "It's about Amanda." Takes a deep breath. "She's been keeping a DNA test hidden. Came across it during a case. My wife having a secret DNA test? Why would she hide it? What does it have to do with my brother's work?" Past few weeks start flashing through my mind. Amanda's late nights, the secrets, little lies she tried to pass off as misunderstandings. Mind racing with questions. Is this about Lily? Is she not really mine? Feels like someone just punched me in the gut. Or is there something else? Another child, maybe? Every horrible possibility runs through my head. "Ryan," I manage to say. Try to keep my voice steady. "Are you saying is she hiding something about Lily? Is she hiding something about us?" Silence on the line. Then his voice comes back, soft and apologetic. "I can't tell you more. Just thought you deserved to know." Hang up the phone. Throat dry. Hands shaking. Everything feels different now. Stand in my doorway frozen. Mind scrambling for any explanation, but nothing makes sense anymore. Decide to confront Amanda tonight. Spend the whole day in a daze. Can barely focus on work. Keep replaying possible confrontations in my head. Each version more intense than the last. By the time she walks through the door, can barely look at her. Weight of Ryan's words crushing me. "Hey," she says casually. Sets her purse down like it's any other day. Glances at me. "Long day?" "Yeah," I say. Voice catches a bit. "Actually, there's something I wanted to talk about." Her face shifts slightly. Something flickers across it. Can't quite place what it is. She smiles, but it feels forced. "All right, what's up?" Take a deep breath. Try to keep my cool. "Why don't you tell me what's going on first?" My tone sharper than intended. "Anything you'd like to come clean about?" Her eyes widen for just a split second. Then expression shifts back to this too calm look. "Come clean about what?" She folds her arms. Gives me this little laugh. Like I'm being ridiculous. Her calmness only fuels my anger. "I got a call today," I say. "Watch her closely." "From Ryan." Her face goes still. "He told me he found out you've been hiding a DNA test. Care to explain why my own brother has to tell me about it?" Amanda's face goes through several expressions. Shock, confusion, then this look that makes my stomach drop. She rolls her eyes, waves dismissively. "Really? That's what you're so worked up about?" "Worked up?" I repeat, struggling to keep my voice down. "You're damn right I'm worked up. What is going on, Amanda? Why would you keep something like that from me?" She lets out this heavy sigh. Like I'm a child asking stupid questions. "It's nothing, all right? Just something I did a while back. Not everything is some grand conspiracy, you know." "So why hide it?" I shoot back. Can barely keep the edge out of my voice. "You could have just told me. But instead I had to hear about it from Ryan. In the middle of a case, no less. How do you expect me to trust you if I find out about something like this through my own brother? Because I knew you'd overreact like this." She snaps, her tone turning icy. "This is exactly why I didn't tell you. You think I'm hiding something big, but it's nothing. Just drop it." Feels like I've walked into some alternate reality where my wife can stand there, look me dead in the eyes, brush me off like I'm asking about the weather. Her reaction isn't fear or regret. It's annoyance, like I'm inconveniencing her. That's when it hits me harder than anything she could have said. She isn't scared of being caught. She doesn't feel guilty at all. Can't let it go. Her attitude, that dismissive, arrogant twist of a smirk, only confirms she's hiding something, more than just a random DNA test. Silence stretches between us, heavy and tense. Can feel her patience thinning. "Amanda," I say, "take a step closer. I don't think you understand the position you're putting me in. I deserve answers. What was the DNA test for? Who was it for?" She scoffs, crosses her arms. "For God's sake, stop acting like this is some murder investigation. It's not even that big a deal." "Not that big a deal," I repeat. Try to hold back the bitterness in my throat. "Then explain it to me. Make me understand how you, my wife, have a hidden DNA test that somehow showed up in my brother's case file. Explain how that's not a big deal." She looks at me for a long moment, expression unreadable. Then something in her eyes shifts. "Fine," she snaps. "You want the truth? I took a test. A stupid DNA test because..." She hesitates. "But it's brief. Because I had doubts about Lily, all right. The air seems to vanish from the room. My legs feel weak, like I've been hit with a wave I wasn't prepared for. Doubts? I echo, my voice barely a whisper. Doubts about what, Amanda? About Lily being my daughter? She rolls her eyes again, but this time there's something else in her gaze. Something sharp, almost malicious. No, I needed to know for myself, for reasons that have nothing to do with you. And when I found out, I decided not to say anything. Because I knew you'd blow it all out of proportion. She glances away, shrugs like it's all inconsequential. But I see the coldness there, the way she's protecting some hidden truth behind that indifference. My mind is racing. If she had doubts about Lily, that meant she'd done something. Been with someone else, around the time Lily was conceived, but she wouldn't even tell me the results. Was Lily my daughter? Or was she just standing there, watching me drown in my own suspicions? Knowing the answer, refusing to say, Amanda, I say, struggling to stay calm. Just tell me the truth. Is she mine? The silence that follows is suffocating. Her eyes flicker. I see a trace of something almost triumphant, like she'd been waiting for me to break and ask that exact question. You're really going to make this about you? She sneers. God, you're so predictable. She grabs her purse off the counter, tosses her hair over her shoulder with a scoff. I'm done with this conversation. Maybe you should learn to trust your wife instead of playing detective. Or is it just easier for you to blame me? And with that, she walks out of the room, leaving me there, hanging onto the edge of a truth she refused to give me. As the front door slams shut behind her, a realization settles in my chest. Cold and heavy. Whatever this is, this twisted game she was playing, she wasn't done with it yet. I don't sleep that night, lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Every nerve in my body wound tight. Questions keep bouncing through my mind, like relentless static I couldn't turn off. Keep replaying her words, her dismissive smirk, the casual way she tossed my entire world aside like it was nothing. Around 3 a.m., find myself reaching for my phone. Text Ryan, need to talk tomorrow. It's about Amanda. I need to know everything you found. He responds almost immediately. Meet me at Joey's Diner at 7. When I walk in the next morning, Ryan's already there, seated in the corner booth, sipping black coffee. He looks up as I slide into the seat across from him. Can see a glint of hesitation in his eyes. All right, spill it, I say. Skip the small talk. You wouldn't have told me about that DNA test. If you didn't think something was seriously off, Ryan sighs, sets down his cup. Look, I didn't want to drag you into this, but when I found her name in one of my cases, I couldn't ignore it. The thing is, her name wasn't just in a random file. It was in a file that linked her to a known fraud ring. There's a possibility she forged some documents. Financial fraud, identity issues, DNA tampering. Amanda's name came up more than once. I blink, try to absorb his words. Wait, so you're saying she might have tampered with the DNA results? Like as in she was hiding who Lily's real father is? He nods slowly. Possibly. Look, I don't have concrete proof of what she did exactly, but the group she's linked with is involved in faking DNA tests, medical records, even paternity results. If she was desperate enough to keep this hidden, she may have done things you wouldn't believe. There's a high chance she knows the results, but is keeping them from you. Or worse, she's twisted them so you'd never find out. The words hit like a hammer to the chest. My own wife manipulating evidence to keep the truth from me, to keep me in the dark about my own daughter. My throat tightens as the weight of betrayal settles in. Ryan, if that's true, I can't believe she'd go this far. I mean, why? Why not just tell me the truth? She has her reasons, I'm sure, Ryan says grimly. But listen, if you want to know for sure, there's a way I can help you get an independent DNA test done for Lily. Private lab, no one will know. And then at least you'll know the truth. Whatever it is, I sit there staring into my coffee, the truth crashing down over me in waves. Amanda wasn't just lying to me. She was actively working to keep me from the truth, manipulating me, even bringing our daughter into it. Think about Lily's face, her big blue eyes. That reminded me so much of my own mother's. For a second, I almost let myself believe she had to be mine. But what if she wasn't? Look up at Ryan. My mind made up. Let's do it. Whatever it takes. I need to know. I'm done letting her control this. Ryan nods, his eyes steely with determination. Then let's get to the bottom of this. That evening I come home, mix of dread and resolve swirling in my chest. Feel like a stranger in my own house. Amanda's in the kitchen, casually scrolling on her phone. Lily playing nearby. She barely looks up when I walk in, her smile faint and far too normal. As if last night's argument hadn't even happened. Have to play along, at least for now. With Ryan's help, I'd set up an appointment at a private lab in 2 days. All I had to do was get a sample from Lily. Something small, like a hair or a cheek swab. Feels wrong to sneak around like this, but it's the only way to cut through Amanda's web of lies. As we sit down for dinner, try to keep my expression neutral. Lily babbles about her day at kindergarten, proudly telling me about a drawing she'd made. She runs off to get it from her backpack. I watch her go, my heart twisting. She looks so much like me. Or was that just what I wanted to believe? Every time I tried to see her as mine, Amanda's smirk flashes in my memory, taunting me with doubt. Amanda catches me staring, raises an eyebrow. Something on your mind? She asks, her voice almost challenging. Force a smile. Just a long day at work. Nothing new. She shrugs, as if she doesn't care either way, turns back to her plate. But there's something different about her tonight. Something sharper, more watchful. Wonder if she'd sensed that I was up to something. After dinner, as Lily is getting ready for bed, Amanda pulls me aside in the hallway, blocking my path. Her eyes narrowed, studying me with an intensity I hadn't seen before. So are we really going to play this game? Or are you going to just admit you're trying to dig up some dirt on me? She asks, her voice low and venomous. The blood drains from my face, but I hold my ground. What are you talking about? Try to sound casual. She smirks, crossing her arms. You think I don't know? You're running around with your detective brother. Looking into me? I know everything, sweetheart. I could practically feel your suspicions. From across the room tonight, she knew. Somehow she'd caught on to the plan, and she was daring me to admit it. What are you so worried about? I shot back, meeting her stare. If there's nothing to hide, why are you so concerned? She steps closer, her face inches from mine, her voice dropping to a whisper. Because I know you, and I know you're not going to stop until you find exactly what you're looking for. But be careful, because you might not like what you find. I hold her gaze, my fists clenched. You're right. I won't stop. And when I find out what you've been hiding, don't expect me to just sit back and accept it. She smiles, a cold, calculating smile. That makes my skin crawl. We'll see about that, she whispers. With one last look, she turns and walks down the hall, leaving me standing there, more determined than ever to expose her lies. The next day feels like walking through quicksand, each moment dragging, every second weighing down on me, barely functioning at work. Counting down until the appointment at the lab, my nerves are frayed. Every thought comes back to Amanda's cold smile. And that ominous warning, be careful because you might not like what you find. That night I go through bedtime routine with Lily. We read her favorite story, but my mind keeps wandering to the test I'd be bringing in tomorrow. When I lean in to kiss her goodnight, run my fingers through her hair, gently pluck a single strand as I do, she doesn't notice, drifts off to sleep. Her small hand resting in mine, slip the hair into a small envelope, the gravity of my actions settling hard on my shoulders. Amanda's already in the living room when I come down, casually scrolling through her phone. Just as she'd been the night before, she looks up at me, expression unreadable, then goes back to whatever she was doing. Without a word, I sit down across from her, a silent standoff forming between us. The air feels charged, like we're both waiting for the other to break. Then out of nowhere, she sets her phone down and says, "You're going to do it, aren't you? You're really going to go behind my back, test our daughter, and act like I'm the villain here?" Her voice is calm, but her eyes have this dark glint, a mixture of disdain and amusement. That makes my skin crawl. I don't even bother pretending to deny it. You're damn right I am. I don't know who you are anymore, Amanda, but I know you're hiding something. And if it's about Lily, if you've been lying to me about her, shake my head, unable to finish the sentence, then I have every right to know. She tilts her head, giving me a mockingly sympathetic look. Poor you. All caught up in your own suspicions. Do you ever wonder what happens if you're wrong? What? I snap, my patience finally wearing thin. If I'm wrong, then I'll be the first to apologize. But you don't get to turn this around on me. This is on you, Amanda. You're the one keeping secrets, and I'm done living with my head in the sand. She lets out a small, almost pitying laugh. For the first time, I feel a flash of genuine hatred for her. I guess you'll get your answer soon enough, she says, standing up. But if you want to know the truth, just remember that it won't come without a cost. With that, she walks out of the room, leaving me alone, staring at the empty doorway. Her words linger, twisting in my gut. It won't come without a cost. That night, I barely sleep, my mind racing with what she might have meant. The next morning, take the envelope with Lily's hair sample, drive to the lab in silence, the weight of everything pressing down on me. My stomach is in knots, but my mind is clear. This is the only way to finally know the truth and break free from the endless cycle of doubt. Amanda had trapped me in, hand over the sample, fill out the paperwork. Try not to let my hands shake. As I sign my name, they tell me it would take a few days, which feels like a lifetime. Leaving the lab, feel an unsettling mix of relief and dread. Part of me still wants to believe. I'm just paranoid that there's no way Amanda could have lied to me for this long, especially about something as huge as Lily. The next few days are a blur of forced normality. Go through the motions at work, try to keep things light around Lily. Do my best to avoid Amanda whenever possible. But she doesn't make it easy. She would watch me, study me with that cold, knowing smile, like she was waiting for me to unravel. Then on the fourth day, I get the call, sitting at my desk at work. When my phone buzzes, see the lab's number flashing on the screen. My heart nearly stops, hands clammy. Step out of my office and answer. The voice on the other end is polite, efficient. "We have your results ready, Mr. Miller. You can pick them up any time today." After a tense silence, I ask if there's any way they could give me a quick summary over the phone. My voice barely comes out, but I have to know. The words hang in the air heavy. As the lab technician hesitates, "I'm sorry, but we really recommend that you come in person for the full results," she replies carefully, adding, "But if you prefer, I can confirm the basics." Her tone is cautious, like she knows the weight of what she's about to say. "Yes," I whisper. "Just the basics." Another pause, and then she says, "Based on the analysis, we can confirm there is no biological relationship. Between you and the sample provided, everything goes cold. Feel like I've been punched, my mind going numb. As the truth sinks in, sharp and merciless. Lily isn't mine. Thank her. Barely hearing my own voice. End the call. Staring down at my phone, can't process anything beyond the single brutal fact that Lily, the daughter I'd loved with every part of me, raised as my own, was not my child. My world tilts. The ground feels like it's been ripped out from under me, leaving only the nauseating realization that everything I believed in, everything I'd built my life around, was a lie. Don't remember driving home. Just remember gripping the wheel, staring straight ahead, every thought jagged and sharp. Lily isn't mine. All this time, Amanda had been lying, letting me believe a story she crafted, pulling me deeper into a false reality, where I was nothing more than an unwitting prop. When I walk into the house, it's quiet. Amanda's at the kitchen counter, casually flipping through a magazine. She glances up, her eyes flashing with a glimmer of something, almost smug. It's like she'd been waiting for me, knowing that I'd finally learned the truth, and was teetering on the edge of my own destruction. Couldn't hold back? "You knew, didn't you?" I say, my voice barely more than a whisper. "You knew Lily wasn't mine." She doesn't flinch, just closes the magazine, sets it down, crosses her arms, tilts her head with a smile. That chills me to my core. "Took you long enough," she says calmly, as if this was a game, and I just lost the final round. The rage that surges through me is like nothing I've ever felt. "How could you do this?" I demand, my voice shaking. "How could you let me believe she was my daughter? Do you have any idea what you've done to me?" To her, her expression remains disturbingly relaxed, like this was all part of a routine she'd rehearsed. "You were so eager to believe it," she replies, her tone dripping with disdain, so desperate to play the role of doting father. The perfect husband. It was convenient for both of us. And besides, she adds with a shrug, Lily needed a stable home, didn't she? Can't believe the callousness in her voice, the complete lack of remorse. "You lied to me," I say, my fists clenching, trying to keep myself from shaking. "You used me. You used Lily." Amanda rolls her eyes, her lips curling in a smile that barely masks her contempt. "Oh, stop being so dramatic. You wanted a family. I gave you one. You got exactly what you wanted. And look at you, all these years later, still desperate for answers, as if they'll change anything." Her words twist in my gut like a knife. "Did you ever love me?" I ask, feeling foolish even as the question leaves my mouth. She pauses, then gives me a look that's almost pitying. "I loved the idea of you, of what you could give me. But love? No, I wouldn't call it that." She smirks, her eyes flashing with something cold and unfeeling. "You were always so easy to control, so willing to do whatever it took to keep the peace. And Lily, well, she got the father figure she needed." Feel hollow, like she'd scraped out everything inside me, leaving nothing but the raw ache of betrayal. "So what happens now?" I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. She shrugs, picking up her magazine again, as if I were nothing more than a minor inconvenience. "Now, that's up to you. You wanted the truth, didn't you? Well, there it is. Do what you want with it. Frankly, I don't care." And with that, she turns away, dismissing me as easily as she dismissed every promise we'd ever made, every memory I thought we'd shared. I stand there frozen, as she calmly turns her back to me, flipping her magazine open, with the same ease as if she'd just finished. discussing the weather. The reality of her coldness is staggering, like I'd never truly seen her until now. Every word she just spoke tore through me piece by piece, until all that remained was anger, a deep, raw anger that I could barely contain. "I don't know what happened to you," I say, struggling to keep my voice steady, "or what made you think any of this was okay. But Lily, she's an innocent child. You didn't just lie to me. You've robbed her of a father who truly deserves her." She gives a dismissive wave, not even bothering to look up. "Spare me the righteous act, will you? You think I don't know what this is? You're hurt and you're lashing out. You'll get over it." She finally glances up, giving me a look that's almost condescending. "And Lily? She'll be fine. You've been nothing but a wallet and a bedtime story to her." Her words strike like a slap, but they fuel something inside me, a resolve that had been buried under layers of self-doubt and misplaced trust. "You're wrong," I say quietly, my voice hardening. "Lily is my daughter. Maybe not by blood, but in every other way that matters. And I won't let her suffer because of your lies." Amanda's expression flickers for a brief moment, almost as if she hadn't expected me to push back. She leans back, crossing her arms, raises an eyebrow, clearly amused. "And what exactly do you plan to do? Run off with her? She's not yours. And if you think for 1 second that any court would give you custody, then you're more naive than I thought." Her words send a chill down my spine, but I hold my ground. I'm not going to abandon her. She may not be my blood, but I raised her. I've been there for every scraped knee, every nightmare, every single moment. She trusts me. I'm her father, no matter what you think. Amanda laughs softly, her voice dripping with mock sympathy. "How sweet. But let me make this clear, just so you're not wasting your energy on pointless fantasies. If you even think of taking her from me, I'll make sure you never see her again. And believe me, I'll win. Because when it comes down to it, you don't have any legal rights. You're nothing but a placeholder. Someone I used to fill a role." Her words are like venom, twisting deeper with each sentence. Feel my control slipping, my voice rising despite myself. "She's not a role to be filled. She's a person, Amanda. A child who deserves better than you. She deserves someone who actually cares about her. Someone who puts her needs before their own games and lies." Her face darkens, the smirk dropping. For the first time, I see real anger in her eyes. "I don't think you understand," she says, her voice like ice. "You're just a man I married. Nothing more. You don't get to lecture me about what Lily deserves. I decide what's best for her, and I can take her away from you anytime I want." For a split second, feel like I'm staring into the face of a stranger, someone completely devoid of the woman I once thought I knew. This isn't just about betrayal or lies anymore. This is about power, about control, and she would do whatever it took to keep it. But I refuse to let her have the final word. Look her straight in the eye, my voice steady. "You may have manipulated me, used me, lied to me, but you won't win. I'll fight for her, Amanda. I don't care how hard it is, or what it takes. I'll fight for Lily, because she deserves at least one parent who's willing to put her first." She says nothing, but her jaw tightens. I see a flash of something that looks almost like doubt. Walk out of the room, refusing to let her see any more of my anger. Make my way upstairs. Upstairs, I lean against the wall, trying to steady myself, but my hands won't stop shaking. The fight with Amanda replays in my head, her vicious words echoing over and over, until it feels like they're carved into my mind. Have to remind myself that Lily is just down the hall, probably asleep, blissfully unaware of the storm, tearing her family apart. Take a deep breath. Go to her room, opening the door quietly. She's curled up in her bed, her little face calm and peaceful. In the soft glow of her nightlight, as I watch her sleep, the depth of my love for her overwhelms me. Blood or not, this girl is my daughter in every way that matters. And no matter what Amanda said, no court, no threat could make me abandon her. Kneel beside her bed, brush a strand of hair from her face, and the ache in my chest tightens. How many more nights would I have like this, where I could tuck her in and read her stories? Amanda's words haunt me. I decide what's best for her, and I can take her away from you anytime I want. Suddenly, an idea strikes me. A wild, desperate idea, but it's the only one that offers even the faintest chance of protecting Lily. I have no legal rights to her, but if I could prove Amanda's instability, if I could show a pattern of deception and manipulation, maybe I could at least petition for joint custody. Maybe I could protect Lily from becoming a pawn in her mother's twisted games. But I need proof, real, undeniable proof, of Amanda's lies, her manipulation, and her questionable actions. Without that, I'm just a man with suspicions, and like she said, no legal standing. Slip out of Lily's room, my mind racing. I don't know where to start. But one thing is clear. Amanda isn't as untouchable as she thought. She'd become too comfortable in her lies, too arrogant in the way she dismissed me. Somewhere she'd made mistakes, and I was determined to find them. The next morning, I call Ryan. He answers almost immediately, concern evident in his voice. Mark, you all right? What's going on? Don't bother with pleasantries. Ryan, I need your help. I know it's a lot to ask, but you're the only one who might be able to get me what I need. What exactly are we talking about? He asks, his voice cautious. Take a breath. I need you to help me gather evidence. Proof that Amanda has been lying, manipulating. Whatever you can find, that shows she's unfit to have sole custody of Lily. Ryan hesitates, but then he sighs, the line going silent for a moment. All right, he finally says, I'll help you, but you have to be prepared. If we go down this road, you might find out things that could hurt you even more. I know, I say, my voice steadier than I feel, but I don't have a choice. I can't let her destroy Lily's life just to keep me under her control. We hang up, and for the first time in days, feel a sense of purpose, a sliver of hope piercing through the fog of betrayal. Amanda thought she'd broken me. She thought she held all the power, but she didn't know that this time I was done playing by her rules. Over the next few days, move with a quiet determination, careful not to let Amanda catch even a hint of what I was planning. She must have thought I was defeated, that I'd accepted her twisted version of reality, because she let her guard down, her smug confidence practically dripping. With every glance she threw my way, it fueled me, steeled my resolve, let her think I'd given up. She had no idea what was coming. Ryan worked behind the scenes, digging into her past, following any lead that might expose the lies she'd woven so meticulously. Every evening he'd send me updates, filling me in on what he found. And with each piece of information, the image of the woman I'd married crumbled a little more. One night Ryan calls me, his tone urgent. Mark, I found something. It's big, but it's also a lot to take in. Brace myself. What is it? There's another man. She's been involved with him for years. On and off. Financial records show transactions to a hidden account, and he's been receiving regular payments from her. It goes back nearly as long as your marriage. I'd guess he's Lily's biological father. The words hit me like a fist to the gut. Another man, a hidden life running parallel to mine. All these years, she'd built this family on lies, using me as a cover for her double life. And that wasn't all. She'd been funneling money out of our joint account, money I thought was for us, for our home, our future, our child. Ryan goes on, his voice steady, but filled with a quiet fury on my behalf. There's more. That fraud ring she's tied to. She's done this before, Mark. Her previous marriage ended under suspicious circumstances, with her ex-husband being left nearly bankrupt. I tracked down the guy, and he's willing to talk if it helps your case. It's like a puzzle I'd never even known existed, is snapping together in my mind, each piece revealing just how calculated, how ruthless she really was. This wasn't just a string of bad decisions. This was a deliberate, premeditated pattern of manipulation. She used people, bled them dry, and moved on without a trace of guilt. Send me everything, I tell him, my voice low, my mind racing. I need all of it. Financial records, statements from her ex, anything that proves she's been manipulating me and that she's unfit to have full custody of Lily. I'll get it to you, Ryan promises. And Mark, I know this is tearing you apart, but you're doing the right thing. Lily deserves a chance at a real, stable life. And Amanda, she deserves to face the consequences. That night I can't sleep, sit in the dark, surrounded by evidence. That paints a picture of a woman I no longer recognize. Every lie she told, every betrayal, is right there in black and white, like some twisted roadmap of our life together. When dawn breaks, I know what I have to do. Amanda had gone too far, her lies too deep. For Lily's sake, I was going to expose everything. No more secrets, no more hiding. I was ready to fight for the truth, even if it meant tearing apart the only life I'd ever known. The following morning, armed with the evidence Ryan had gathered, finally feel a grim sense of clarity. I wasn't just confronting Amanda for myself anymore. I was doing it for Lily, to protect her from a future built on deception. Call a lawyer. We set up an urgent meeting that afternoon. As I wait, the weight of what was to come settles in. Once I start down this road, there's no turning back. At the lawyer's office, I lay everything out. The hidden DNA test, the financial manipulation, the payments to Lily's real father, and Amanda's ties to the fraud ring. The lawyer listens without interrupting, her expression a mix of disbelief and steely focus. Mark, she finally says, you have a strong case, stronger than most in a situation like this. But it won't be easy. Custody battles are brutal. And without being Lily's biological father, you'll have an uphill fight. But given Amanda's actions and this extensive history, you might have a shot at joint custody. It'll be tough, but it's not impossible. Her words solidify my resolve. I would fight for Lily no matter how difficult the road. What do I need to do? I ask, my voice steady. She outlines the steps: filing for an emergency hearing, gathering character witnesses, getting Lily's school records, and pediatrician statements to show my involvement in her life. Then she advises me to prepare for the backlash, because once Amanda found out, she would come at me with everything she had. I left the office with a strange sense of calm, a newfound purpose guiding my every step. When I got home, Amanda was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone like everything was perfectly normal. She glances up, barely giving me a second look. But this time I was ready. "Amanda," I say, keeping my voice level. "We need to talk." She raises an eyebrow, feigning surprise. "Oh, about what now?" Her tone mocking, as if she'd already won. Take a breath, looking her square in the eye. "About custody arrangements. I filed for joint custody of Lily." The words wipe the smirk off her face. For the first time, I see a flash of fear in her eyes, quickly masked by anger. "Are you insane?" She spat. "You think you can just take her from me? I'm her mother, Mark. You're nothing but a father who's been there for her every day of her life," I interrupt, refusing to let her finish. "A father who's been lied to, manipulated, and used. But that's over. I know everything, Amanda. About the payments, the fraud, the hidden accounts, and about her biological father." Her face drains of color, and I know I've struck a nerve. "You're bluffing," she hisses, her voice barely above a whisper. But I see the panic in her eyes. "Am I?" Pull out a folder filled with copies of bank transfers, financial statements, and evidence of her ties to her old fraud ring. Lay it on the coffee table between us, letting the truth stare back at her. She looks down at the documents, her hands trembling as she flips through them. When she finally looks up, her expression is a mixture of rage and desperation. "You have no idea what you're getting into," she says, her voice low and venomous. "You're nothing without me, Mark. You don't stand a chance." Meet her gaze, feeling a strength I hadn't felt in years. "Maybe you're right. Maybe I don't stand a chance. But I'd rather lose fighting for Lily than spend one more day pretending I don't see who you really are." She clenches her fists, struggling to keep control. "You think you can just erase me from her life?" Shake my head. "No, but I can make sure she grows up knowing the truth. And I can give her a life where she doesn't have to live in the shadow of your lies." Amanda stands up, fury blazing in her eyes. But for once, I don't flinch. I'd seen the worst of her, and nothing she could throw at me would shake my resolve. She storms out of the room, slamming the door behind her. I sit down, my heart pounding, but feel an overwhelming sense of relief. The fight had only just begun. But for the first time, I was ready for whatever came next. The days that followed were like walking through a minefield. Amanda became a shadow lurking in the house, with icy silence one moment and explosive outbursts the next. She was furious, yet she seemed unable to decide on her strategy. She'd go from sneering threats to icy indifference, then back to a forced sweetness when Lily was around, like she was already crafting her image for the courtroom. But I knew her moves now, and I wasn't playing her game. One night after Lily had fallen asleep, Amanda corners me in the kitchen, her face twisted in barely contained fury. "So you think you've won, do you?" She spat, her voice a low hiss. "You think you can just rip her out of my life?" "I don't want to rip her out of anything," I reply calmly. "I want her to have a chance at stability, at honesty, something you don't seem capable of giving her." She laughs, a bitter mocking sound that grated against my nerves. "Honesty? You think you're some kind of hero? You're nothing, Mark. Just a pathetic man who can't stand up for himself, unless he has his big brother holding his hand." I clench my jaw, but don't let her see she'd rattled me. "Say what you want, Amanda. I'm done with your games." "Games?" she whispers, stepping closer, her voice chillingly quiet. "You haven't seen anything yet. You want a war? Fine. But remember, you're the one who started this." The next morning, notice her ramping up her campaign. She suddenly morphs into the perfect mother, doting on Lily constantly. In her orbit, as if performing for an invisible audience, she'd take Lily out for spontaneous trips to the park, bake cookies, buy new clothes. She became this warm, attentive figure I hadn't seen in years because it had never been real. It was all for show, a fabricated version of herself. She planned to parade in court. Then one night, just as I was putting Lily to bed, Amanda appears in the doorway, a sickly sweet smile plastered on her face. "Lily, honey," she cooed, "why don't you come stay with me in my room tonight? We'll have a little mommy-daughter sleepover." Lily looks at me, her eyes uncertain. She'd always preferred her own room, her own space, and Amanda rarely ever made such requests. Give her a small nod, wanting to ease her mind. "It's okay, Lily. You can go if you'd like." Reluctantly, Lily agrees, and Amanda takes her by the hand, casting a final triumphant look over her shoulder at me. Before leading her down the hall, I know what she's doing, planting seeds of doubt in Lily, trying to pull her closer, hoping to create a divide between us. The next day, I call Ryan again, telling him everything Amanda had been doing to manipulate Lily. "She's not going to stop," I say, voice low with frustration. "She'll use every trick in the book to get what she wants, even if it means confusing and hurting our daughter in the process. Then we're going to need more than documents," Ryan says, his voice steady and resolute. "We need to build a case that shows her pattern, her instability, and her willingness to manipulate even her own child. That's what a court will care about." Feel a flicker of hope. How do we do that? We get character witnesses, friends, neighbors, anyone who's seen her real side, the side she hides from everyone else. And Mark, if you're okay with it, I can start recording our conversations. Legally, it's a gray area, but if it can prove that she's unfit, hesitate, feeling the weight of what he was suggesting. Recording Amanda felt invasive, like crossing a line. I wasn't sure I wanted to cross. But then think of Lily, the quiet moments when she'd look up at me, her eyes trusting and innocent. She didn't deserve to be caught in Amanda's web, a pawn in whatever twisted game she was playing. "Do it," I say finally. "Whatever it takes," Ryan agrees. And as I hang up, feel a strange, steely calm settle over me. Amanda had declared war, and I'd do whatever it took to protect my daughter. This wasn't about revenge or anger anymore. It was about shielding Lily from the woman who until now had only shown her a carefully constructed mask. As I sit alone in the dark, realize that this is only the beginning. Amanda is going to fight tooth and nail to hold on to her control, but this time I'm ready for her. She isn't going to win, not as long as I have breath in me to fight. The day of the custody hearing arrives. The weight of everything we'd been through bears down on me. As I walk into the courtroom, Amanda is already there, dressed in a somber, respectable outfit, her expression perfectly arranged to convey quiet confidence and motherly concern. She barely glances at me. As I take my seat, her lawyer sits beside her, flipping through a thick stack of notes and documents. But I know what was real and what wasn't. I know what had led us to this point. My lawyer leans over and whispers, "Today we're going to focus on Lily. We'll establish that you've been her primary parent, someone who has provided stability and love, and then we'll introduce the evidence we've gathered." To show the judge the other side of Amanda, it was the longest morning of my life. Amanda's lawyer goes first, painting her as the devoted mother, the victim of a husband who had questionable motives. In attempting to secure custody, they highlighted her recent activities with Lily, her trips to the park, the story times, even the mommy-daughter sleepovers. I watch Amanda play her role with such ease that I feel almost sick, but I focus on breathing, on keeping myself steady. Then it's our turn. My lawyer begins by establishing my role in Lily's life, with evidence of our bond, school attendance records, medical history showing my involvement in every checkup and appointment, testimonies from friends and neighbors who had seen me with her over the years. Each piece felt like a small validation, like I was fighting back Amanda's shadow, one fact at a time. Finally, we bring in the evidence Ryan had gathered, the bank statements, her hidden accounts, and the recordings of Amanda's threats. My lawyer plays the audio, her cold voice echoing through the courtroom, her words sharp and cruel. The contrast between the woman in the recording and the demure motherly figure she tried to present in court was undeniable. For the first time, her mask slips, and I see a flash of panic in her eyes. As the judge looks at her with raised eyebrows, when it's my turn to speak, take a deep breath, focus on the reason I'm here. "Lily, speak about our life together, the simple joys of bedtime stories, and walks in the park, the trust we built. Describe how her smile lit up my life, how she'd become the single most important person in my world. End by saying, I don't want to take Lily away from her mother, but I want to protect her. From a future built on lies, manipulation, and instability, she deserves a safe, honest home, surrounded by people who put her needs first." After I finish, glance at Amanda, who glares at me with a fury I hadn't seen before. She knows the damage is done. I'd exposed her carefully hidden life, shattered the facade she'd worked so hard to maintain. The judge listens, reviewing the evidence carefully. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, He delivers his verdict. He acknowledges the bond I'd formed with Lily, the trust and stability I'd provided. He grants me joint custody, with shared decision-making on all aspects of Lily's life. Amanda's request for sole custody is denied. In his closing remarks, he warns Amanda that any attempt to interfere with Lily's relationship with me would be taken seriously. As the judge's gavel strikes, feel an overwhelming sense of relief, mixed with exhaustion. The battle wasn't over, but for the first time, I felt like I had a chance to give Lily the life she deserved. Amanda storms out of the courtroom, her lawyer trailing after her. But I don't care. I have Lily, and I have the chance to be the father she needs. That was all that mattered. Ryan is waiting for me outside, a small smile on his face. "You did it," he says, clapping me on the shoulder. "You finally stood up to her." I nod, feeling a wave of gratitude toward him and everyone who'd helped me through this nightmare. "Thanks, Ryan. I couldn't have done it without you." On the drive home, think about Lily, about how I'll tell her that no matter what happened, I would always be there for her. The road ahead isn't going to be easy, but I'm ready for it. Amanda had taken so much from me, but she hadn't taken my love for Lily, and in the end, that was the one thing she could never touch.